Hi there, Richard Tubb here. Now, one of the primary tools that I use within my managed service provider business before I sold it was StorageCraft. Now, StorageCraft are best known for their storage, backup, disaster recovery solutions. They are very well respected in the managed service provider industry. Well, in March 2021, StorageCraft announced they had merged with another hugely recognizable name in our IT industry, that being Arcserve. So when my friends at StorageCraft approached me and said, would you like to see and hear what we've been up to lately? I couldn't pass up on the opportunity. So I'm joined today by Kevin Rasdale, who is a data protection specialist at StorageCraft. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Very well. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much for the invite to chat today. I'm looking forward to a discussion, especially as part of a new, larger organization.
Yeah, well, I want to start off by asking you about that first of all, if I can. So you've been part of the StorageCraft team for many years now. How is life treating you now that you're part of the Arcserve family?
It's an exciting time, if I'm being honest with you, Richard, because whilst Arcserve has its strengths and StorageCraft is obviously very well recognised within the SMB and MSP space, we now kind of have a complete offering to be able to speak to any size of partner and any size of customer. So we have obviously the MSP strength of StorageCraft, but we now have the mid-enterprise and enterprise level offerings that Arcserve have brought to the table. So really, it's a much larger portfolio that puts us in a much stronger position to speak to pretty much any organization and help them overcome any data protection challenges they're experiencing today.
Yeah, good times. I said Arcserve, really well-known name in the industry alongside StorageCraft. So exciting times for you. Yeah. I know we've got the ability today to do a screen share to look around at things. It's been a little while since I've taken a look at any of the StorageCraft products. So would you do a screen share and perhaps show us around some?
Absolutely. So I thought that today, Richard, what we could have a look at would be the management interface for a product which we call ShadowSafe. Now, ShadowSafe is a backup solution that operates as both a software-only model, but is a huge potential opportunity for MSPs to protect SMB and remote branch office customers when it's packaged as a OneXafe Solo.
Okay.
So what we're looking at here is the login interface. Now, if I log in here, you will see that straight away it's a much more different looking interface than what we've experienced before, where it was potentially a little bit Windows 2000 back from the days of Shadow Protect 5. And this is now a widget-driven web interface. It's hosted at onesystem.storagecraft.com. It's a fully multi-tenanted environment where every single one of our partners have the capability of going in and managing their multiple customers from that single pane of glass, or indeed end users have the ability to have their own account and log in.
Okay. And if you don't mind me jumping in with questions as we go along.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about end users, obviously is there a sort of granular security in place there so they can't do too much damage, perhaps, dare I say?
Absolutely, yeah. So at the moment, it's two options, really. It's either a managed service where it would be driven by the partner and exclusively accessed by the partner, or what we can do for end users that want to drive their own data protection is we create an account for them on the portal. It's full 2FA secured, and they will only ever have access to their own interface.
Understood, yeah. Forgive me for interrupting. I just want to jump in with questions with my MSP hat on as we go through.
Absolutely, that's what I'm here for. So this managed interface then, at the front page is what we call the dashboard. You'll see here that this menu on the left-hand side will expand. So the dashboard gives us really a global view. You can see straight away from the top left-hand corner that I'm looking at all sites. So if I was a potential MSP, I could have, 200 different customers all being managed from this single pane of glass. This global view gives me the status of what's happening with the deployed software. As it's a geographically distributed application, this will actually give me that confidence that I don't need to go and perform individual checks on every customer's backup. I can see that the systems are running, that the backups are healthy, which is shown in the data protection status. My unprotected machines is telling me whether any of my customers are experiencing VM sprawl, and perhaps that's another challenge that I can help them overcome. I can identify whether or not there are any physical machines that have been deployed with a StorageCraft agent but aren't being protected. We then have, as we move further down the page, we have a global data usage, which is just a nice, easy to consume graphical representation of the storage targets across all of my customers. There's the arrows. I can arrow back and forth between different pieces of technology to see, as I say, nice and easily, do I need to provision any more storage, yes or no? Data change rate is a great option because whenever any customer approaches an MSP and asks for a backup product, the kind of general questions are, how much data do you have? How many machines? What's your data growth? What's your data change? And when it comes to data change, a lot of people, it's kind of a finger in the air and it's guesstimation. And we want to be able to remove the guesstimation and truly determine what resource that managed service provider has to provision for their end user. So the data change rate is a great option, and it will break it down to an individual per day change rate. We have system activity panel, in the widget, which is going to tell us whether or not we have any active backups or replica jobs running at the moment. And there are none running.
So when you mention replica, if you forgive me for asking this question, so what does a replica refer to? I presume it's moving data from on-site to a cloud solution, perhaps?
It can be, it is moving data from its primary storage target to another target. Now that can be, it could be removable disk storage. It could be across the network, a secondary location. But yes, absolutely, it can be into the cloud. Now, we support most of the most prominent cloud providers. So at the moment, we support Wasabi, Azure, AWS S3, but very importantly, we support the StorageCraft cloud, where we have our own fully provisioned disaster recovery as a service platform.
Got it. That makes sense.
And then at the very bottom, we have throughput, which is just telling us, when we have backup jobs, how they are performing, what it's looking like on the network. And that is the main page. The part that I think that everybody should be buying one of these pieces of technology for, my favorite part, if it will scroll for me. Now, it wouldn't be a true demo if it worked first time out. Part of the reason that I think that everybody should be buying this piece of technology is my favorite feature is what I call Batman mode. There we go. If that's not the coolest piece of technology, I don't know what is.
That's your killer feature right there, isn't it? So.
For me, every day, that's if there's a Batman mode, just tell me where to sign. But it's a really simple to consume product. It's all point and click. The way I used to describe it is it's Facebook for backup. If you bring in an intern and their entire IT existence has been managing their social media profile, it's all point and click. They have a transferable skill set. It's all point and click here. From protection to look at the live environment to understand what is actually happening, whether we're looking at virtual machines or agent-based backups, policy-based protection so that we can simplify the language that we use when it comes to actually protecting data, where we start to talk about recovery point objectives, when we start to talk about retention policies in an easy to consume manner, 7 days of hourly. It's trying to make it it's trying to make it simple to provision, but it's also making it simple to discuss with the customer in question.
Yeah, makes sense.
And obviously, as a lot of people will say, nobody ever got sacked for backing up, but it's recovering can be a CV changing event. So we have our multiple recovery options, including now fastest recovery time objective for a virtual platform on the market. And that really, without going too deep into a full-time demo, which I'd be happy to do for you anytime, that's kind of a quick overview of the interface of the One system, which manages ShadowSafe and the OneXafe Solo.
So you alluded to it earlier. Now, I've been brought up to be taught that backup is only as good as its restore, and in most scenarios, MSPs are being asked to restore things by their clients really, really quickly. We've all had those sort of phone calls or emails and that. So how do you help MSPs actually do those speedy recoveries?
So the way that we're able to help the So the way that we're able to help the MSPs provide those fast recoveries is a combination of the simplicity of delivering that recovery, coupled with the way that we've architected this piece of technology. So when ShadowSafe was designed, we already had a particularly robust, trusted piece of technology in Shadow Protect. But Shadow Protect was built when physical servers for a specific task were the norm, Yes. And since then, the enterprise landscape has shifted seismically. We started to see virtualization with every vendor effectively having their own hypervisor. We started to see Kubernetes and containerized applications. We started to see cloud becoming a real, cloud stopped being a buzzword and it started being part of people's enterprise play. So now what we're looking at is a platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, multi-cloud platform environment, the scale of which, unfortunately, Shadow Protect would have struggled with. So we went back to the drawing board, but we didn't reinvent the wheel because we already had a couple of really good wheels on the car that was Shadow Protect. So we just took the wheels off and put them on a race car, and that is what ShadowSafe is. So the way that it's been architected allows us to deliver full payload delivery in any type of communication. So when we perform a restore, the statistics are that we were virtually booting, and that's one of our technologies, virtual boot. We launched it in 2016 at VMworld, and we took home the Gold Award for Best Backup Product and Show. The virtual boot of a 500 gig virtual machine into ESX to being powered on was completed in 16 milliseconds.
Wow.
So we can do that. I have a couple of different partners in the UK who looked at it and they said, you guys did it from SSD, we're going to do it from a NAS appliance. And even then, it was always completed within 1 minute. We never managed to hit the 1 second mark doing it from an SSD platform.
That's incredible advances in technology there. We talked about virtual, and of course, it's a huge part of the landscape, but I have seen so many MSPs, and I mean so many MSPs here, Kevin, who have tried to cobble together, and I'm being polite here, a solution, where they've got a local backup solution that's synchronized to the cloud, that is easily accessible in an emergency. So tell me more about the StorageCraft cloud service, because really the message I want to give to MSPs out there who are trying to put something together themselves is really don't, because other guys are doing this really, really well.
Yeah, well, we have two approaches. Now, first of all, everybody, I think, accepts that you can't get faster than a local restore. However, there will be customers that perhaps don't desire that, or maybe don't have the liquidity to invest in a piece of technology for that local restore. So with ShadowSafe and with the Solo, we're saying have local if you want, or just go straight into the cloud. Now, what a lot of people have come to realize over the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years with the adoption of cloud increasing is that it's really cheap and easy to get data into the cloud. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's where the thought pattern ends.
Yeah.
It's when it's getting it out of the cloud that you're suddenly constrained by bandwidth limitations and you're starting to look at egress charges. So what we offer with the StorageCraft Cloud is a cloud platform that was built as an environment for customers to be able to have a business continuity plan. It truly is disaster recovery as a service. Now, the customer's data can either be backed up locally and replicated into the StorageCraft Cloud, or it can be backed up directly into the StorageCraft Cloud. Now, we have the 7th largest private cloud globally. Okay, we have the 3rd largest Ceph storage deployment in the public cloud globally. What we are offering here is the capability for a customer to have their data in our cloud, and they can either download the data and perform a traditional restore. There are 0 egress charges, or they can actually access the backups and explore those and extract files and folders as a zip file. But really, the all singing, all dancing disaster recovery as a service is that for any customer's environment, that can be an entire network, we will offer them 720 hours of runtime per calendar year. They have the capability of accessing that with IPsec or OpenVPN. they can define a failover order for their entire network. And the beauty of that is that if they tell us that it's not a test, that they are actually experiencing a disaster, we will start to back up the data for them.
Right.
Now,
so you're backing up the backup of the data essentially as it's being used in real time.
Yeah. So we virtualize the backup and we run it as a virtual machine inside our environment. We then start protecting the changes that they're making to that. And one of the really interesting features here is that when we come into recovery, and let's say that we're doing a system recovery, and we want to use that virtual boot technology because we've understood that it gives us a really fast restore. It is 7:54 a.m. in Miami, which is where this data center and the system is running. So I'm going to assume that just now it hasn't had a coffee. So when we come in to do the recovery and we go to do a system restore and a system recovery using the virtual boot technology, because we know that that gives your end customer the data back online quickly, we select any given server. We come into recovery type, and this is where we can now determine where we recover from. So I have the option to restore from Wasabi. That could be the StorageCraft cloud, and we will actually virtually boot that machine back onto infrastructure in the customer office from the backups that we have taken of their running machine in the StorageCraft cloud. And that's how we offer a seamless failover, failback capability with true business continuity.
Incredible technology. And you know, as a techie geek and somebody who used to run an MSP myself, the way this technology has moved on, I wish this was around when I was running an MSP. That's all I would say about it. So we've talked about virtual, we've talked about backing up servers, but so many businesses nowadays, small businesses, large businesses, we're seeing a really increasingly fragmented workforce, distributed. We've got remote workers, we've got remote branches. There's rarely a single server that needs backing up anymore. It's, there's data scattered around devices, workstations all over. How is StorageCraft adapting to that new set of needs out there?
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of different challenges there. So I'm going to take one and then we'll explore the others.
Please.
So first one that I want to pick up on is the remote branch office situation. Now, if we take, for example, your local bank, okay? If you bank with HSBC, we know that HSBC have got huge offices. Well, hopefully they're now populated with people again post-COVID pandemic. But in these offices, there are IT literate and IT trained staff, and that is their job, is to look after the internal IT, the sysadmins, and all the people that work in the IT department. However, you go down to your local HSBC branch, there isn't an IT department, okay? And that could be a bank, it could be retail, it could be any kind of remote branch office. The beauty of the OneXafe Solo is that appliance can be shipped directly to that remote office. We only need somebody that's capable of plugging in the power and plugging in the blue network cable and turning it on. Once they've done that, they can walk away. That device will automatically start communicating here to the One System interface for the MSP to then start protecting that environment. So we're offering, in a pandemic ridden society, God forbid, I'm hoping that we're past the worst of it now, but we're offering the capability for MSPs to be able to protect remote locations without having to go there. And that means that perhaps organizations that aren't so comfortable bringing lots of people through the door, then they don't need to. They just need to be able to plug it in and turn it on. So that's how we're looking after remote branch offices. The beauty of that is that for your HSBCs, this management interface is for the ShadowSafe software only, as well as the OneXafe Solo. So that gives the MSP, the managed service provider, the capability of protecting the entire headquarters and all of those remote branch offices still from this single pane of glass.
Got it.
Now, when we move away from that to the remote workers, we have full capability of protecting workstations, okay? So it's not a server exclusive model, okay?
Yeah.
There are comparative products on the market to the OneXafe Solo, something that literally fits in the palm of your hand, but a lot of them are exclusively talking to enterprise environments. We are quite happy to look after both a workstation environment as well as an enterprise environment from an image-based backup. And then for anybody that's not looking for an image-based backup, but perhaps are looking for just a file and folder-based backup, well, we have Arcserve Cloud Direct, which we can now offload backups from server or workstation operating systems directly into the cloud.
And this is where we see why the business has been done, why the merge has been done here, because we've got file-based backup, image-based backup, BDR, all of these sort of things. I just wanted to say one thing there. For anybody who's not seen the actual physical appliance, you said fitting in the palm of your hand there. It really is small, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I say that to people and I explain that I am 6'6" and I've got pretty big hands, but it is about the size of it's actually smaller than a 3.5-inch hard drive caddy that you'd have as an external hard drive. Around about 90% of the footprint is consumed if you populate it with a 7mm drive. A 7mm drive is a laptop hard drive. If you can imagine that 90% of the footprint is consumed just when you populate it with that drive, it gives you a kind of a true understanding of just how small it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do want to make the point about, backing up workstations. When I ran my MSP business, we had so many critical workstations that perhaps when we'd won business away from other IT businesses had been overlooked because people think, oh yeah, servers and things, but there's so much data out there on workstations, even in the modern age with, all cloud storage and everything going on. So definitely something to think about. But Kevin, I want to address something or ask you a question about something. MSPs have had, let's be honest about it, a really tough time lately because they've been targeted security-wise by cyber criminals. They've got lots of concerns for not only their business, but for their clients' data, keeping it safe for cyber criminals. How are StorageCraft going around helping MSPs to get a peace of mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very valid point, Richard. Recently, it was identified that 87% of those hit with ransomware were running the latest patches on their security software.
Yeah.
Now, what we are starting to see is that historically, backup may have not formed part of that security conversation, but more and more people are starting to realize that both security software and backup software have to be considered when it comes to thinking about the recoverability. So from a ShadowSafe and a OneXafe Solo point of view, the great news is this is a distributed microservice-driven application which runs using a protocol called gRPC. And the beauty of gRPC is that every single piece of communication is TLS 1.2 encrypted. Now that means that whilst you're using a public-facing management interface that is sending messages out to pieces of software, service nodes, different sites, it is all hugely encrypted with what is still a FIPS-approved encryption protocol. As far as I'm aware, and to date, TLS 1.2 hasn't been broken. It is the same protocol and the same encryption that runs the Google backend. Okay, so that gives us an idea of the kind of security. But equally, we are conscious of the fact that if somebody wants to break into your network, they are going to get there one way or another. We see how high profile some of the attacks have been. We're looking at 4 years ago the Police Federation of England and Wales. We're looking at this year the the HSE in Ireland, the health service. In fact, even Twitter were hacked about 18 months ago. So it's one of those that we understand that there has to be a safety net. The beauty is that whilst we are doing everything we can in terms of communications to prevent that, we've got a bit of a golden egg, shall we say, in our portfolio, which is our OneSafe scale-out object-based storage. And the reason that that's very, very desired at the moment is that whilst we're not telling anybody that they will never be hit with ransomware, the OneSafe storage stores all of the data immutably. So even if somebody manages to get onto a OneSafe piece of technology, storage, and encrypt the data that's there, we use a methodology that means that you always have the previous versions of that.
Yeah.
And we use a snapshot technology that inherits the immutability. So we're never going to say you are not going to suffer a ransomware attack because IDC tell us there's an attack every 9 seconds. What we can say is that If you experience an attack and your data sits on a OneXafe, well, you can kind of brush off that ransomware attack because we can have all that data back online in an unencrypted fashion in around about a minute.
Yeah, incredible. I want to focus on the managed service portion of this. So when it comes to most backup products in the market, I think it's fair to say most are aimed at single organizations. MSPs, of course, you know better than anyone does, Kevin. MSPs are hugely multi-tenanted, hundreds, if not thousands of different endpoints and sites there. You've showed us a little bit about how the console is multi-tenanted in approach, but how do you help MSPs manage all those different clients, all those different sites, and all of those different devices as well?
Yeah, well, the beauty of this is the scalability of this solution. As I indicated here, what we're looking at is a single pane of glass to manage. Now, every single one of these under this list is a separate company, a separate organization that I would be protecting as an MSP. So what we're doing is we are bringing together what would have been, 15 different logons,
yes.
15 different interfaces to manage. We're kind of trying to standardize. What we're really doing is we're consolidating the interfaces that we hosted from our original solution, Shadow Protect. So with Shadow Protect, you had a management interface. I like to call it the fat controller. It told what to back up, when to back up, where to back up. We had our image manager process, which was all about verifying. It was all about owning the retention policy. It was about replicating data. But we then had almost an MSP dashboard view, which was shadow control. And that was what a lot of our MSPs would have sitting on a TV on the wall.
Yes.
And it would just give a read-only status of what's happening. What we're doing now is we are bringing all this into a single platform. And we're also then integrating with remote management services, with the software that the MSPs are using. So, for example, with this piece of technology, we integrate very closely with ConnectWise Manage. Now, that means that if something was to go wrong in any of my customer environments and the software reports an error, we will open a ticket in ConnectWise Manage. If that situation resolves itself through the software, we will then go back two-way management and we will close the ticket. So we're simplifying the management. We're kind of allowing it to be, I'm not going to use the term set and forget because that's a bit flippant, but the capability of just having simplified monitoring as well as integrating with the tools that the managed service providers are using to fix any issues that their clients are having.
This is great to catch up on this, to see how far I was going to say the product, but the suite of products has moved forward so much. So if anybody out there watching this, like me, has not taken a look at Shadow Protecting has not taken a look at StorageCraft in quite some time, hopefully this has been a bit of an eye-opener as well. If any MSPs watching this are thinking, okay, this is nice technology, I can see I can make money with this, keep my clients safe, give myself peace of mind, what does the partnership program look like with you?
Well, the partners program for us is the most vital part. We are a 100% channel-based organization. So straight away, we can promise any prospective and existing partners that we are never going to be in a position to go, do you know what, well, let's take that direct, because we don't have a direct sales model at all. So without our partners, we wouldn't sell any products. The partner program is very simple to understand. It goes through from a registered partner to a certified partner to an elite partner. We have free training through the StorageCraft Academy where the partners can go on and upskill, and it's all self-paced. But probably the biggest attraction that a lot of our partners communicate with is that as we are a relatively small organization, especially compared to your Veeams, your Rubrics, your Dells, your HPs, is if you're in the UK and you want to speak to someone about StorageCraft technology, you'll be speaking to Michelle Mullins or Barry Hughes from a commercial perspective, and you'll be speaking to me from a technical perspective. We have that time to give and dedicate to every single partner, so it's the personal touch. It's the ability to know that if they pick up the phone and they have a technical issue, I'm going to be at the other end of it. And if I can't resolve it for them, we can pass them off to support, but we don't pass them off. We informed support, and we still manage it for our customers, because at the end of the day, we understand that our customers and the partners, the MSPs customers, are the end users. The end users are never going to go, oh, StorageCraft haven't responded to me. They're going to go, Richard, you're my MSP. Why haven't you responded to me? So from a viewpoint of making your life easier, for us, it's all about the relationship. And we want to make sure that not only can we make your life easier, but we also want to make it more profitable. So at the end of the day, we are really, our main focus here is to help our partners, be them VARs or MSPs. We're here to help them make money and make the job, their day-to-day job, simpler.
Yeah, and I know a lot of MSPs who have partnered with yourselves for many, many years and speak very highly of the relationship. So you're clearly doing something right there. In fact, talking of doing things right, you've already alluded to this, the number of different awards that StorageCraft, part of the Arcserve family, have already won. But there's one specific award I'm going to have to touch on here. And that is, you were recently voted Best Beard at the StorageCraft EMEA Partner Conference. Now, this is a huge accolade for what is, as everybody can see, a magnificent beard. What does your beard maintenance regime look like?
Oh, it's if you can imagine that this is a long flowing head of hair, it's very much the same. I trim it regularly so that I don't have to pick food out of it. But if I'm being honest with you, on the basis that I won that award off the back of what my beard maintenance regime is, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, because that would just be jeopardizing my future awards. And
you want to win that award year on year on year. I know how important it is, and how sought after it is in the industry as well.
Yeah, well, the only thing I've not yet received, which I have to speak to, I don't know who it is I need to speak to in StorageCraft. I never received the plaque, So
this is an open message to the higher-ups at StorageCraft. Come on, sort this out. People need to know about this. Next time we're on camera, Kevin, I want to see you with the award on there. So
that's the way I describe it is being 6'6". If I was 6 foot, I would have a fantastic head of hair, but I grew through it, so that's why I've got such a magnificent beard.
Kevin, this has been a lot of fun, as well as a bit of an eye-opener for me to see how much the technology has come through here. For anybody watching this who wants to reach out and continue the conversation with you or with StorageCraft, how can they get a hold of you?
So there's a couple of different ways. If they were to go to storagecraft.com and they hang around for any more than 5 seconds, a chat window will pop up and it will ask them, what are they doing on the website? And if they want to, they can just say, I'm looking to speak to someone. The other option is we are happy for them to reach out directly. So I can be reached on kevin.rasdale@arcserve.com, or I can be phoned on 07769 711 828. Now, on the basis that I'm sure a lot of people will initially be looking to just find out a little bit more about StorageCraft, if you drop me an email, I will pass it to the relevant commercial person, account manager, and we will make sure that we can start that conversation. But yeah, as I say, for us to steal the line from BT, it's good to talk. So I'm quite happy for people to give me a call. It's always good to meet new people and see how we can help them overcome any challenges that their end users are facing today.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your time today, Kevin. I know there is an awful lot coming up that we can't really talk too openly about on this video. So perhaps you and I could catch up in a few months' time and record another video and let people know, because there's some really exciting stuff just around the corner as well, isn't there?
There is a huge amount brewing. So yeah, I would love to be able to, but to talk about it today. But yeah, that would be fantastic if we can catch up. Again, thank you very much for having me today. So if we can repeat this when we've got some more exciting things to talk about, then yeah, I would love to.
Wonderful. Kevin, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Richard. You take care.